Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about trauma, how it affects us,
and how I think individual will all go through trauma at some point, but it just it at different degrees. And sometimes we may not even know that we're going through those trauma until later on it resurfaces into our life based on our behavior, based on triggers and stuff like that. So we're just gonna be talking about trauma, about our trauma and how we're dealing with it and how we dealt with it in the past and how we recognize those trauma later on in our life.
Welcome to TheirTalk, a space where two unique voices come together to share real stories and spark meaningful conversations.
Join us as we dive into life moments, big and small, offering advice, insight, and a whole lot of heart.
This is TheirTalk. Let's talk.
There are so many people walking around unprocessed.
Right.
Like when I say unprocessed, their thoughts, they don't even know where it stems from.
Right.
But when they dig deep, they realize like, oh crap, I went through something. This is why I'm acting the way I'm acting. Or like this is why I don't like this kind of food because when I was younger I choked in it. I don't
Girl, kind of dramatic. That's completely true, honestly. Like I grew up in the Civil War and going through it as a child, I did not process it. I never did process it. And as I got older and certain thing I noticed certain behavior in me. Like I think we may have discussed that in a previous episode where I didn't want to be alone.
Yeah.
So I really did not understand why I never wanted to be alone until the older I got. I started realizing once I was alone, I started to process certain thoughts. And so this is one of the unprocessed thoughts because recently, not even recently, a few years ago when I started working at a dealership, I work with a lot of guys. So the guys like to crack jokes and do all kinds of stuff. So they were purposely like scare me. That when someone go, I would jump. Even if I see you, I would jump. And I never realized where this was coming from. As like I said, as I grew and discovered, I started to realize where these are coming from because I grew up with a gunshot. Like I was never a deep sleeper.
Yeah.
And I realized it stemmed from that because if you're a deep sleeper, when the rebel come in town, when they're shooting, you won't hear and you may not live. So like all of those unprocessed trauma, I carried them and I didn't even know it existed.
You know that it's very interesting to hear because I feel like you really did dive deep and you really, really, really thought about everything the way you are at. Come on.
Choking
up
it's
to
okay.
Yeah, no, but
It's a big topic. Like
yeah,
yeah.
and it's crazy because the same Civil War that you've been through, I was a baby, so like I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But now thinking about it, you explaining how the different effects of it affected you, I wonder if because our bodies essentially remembers the trauma,
Right.
although we forget, but certain things like our body are still holding on to it. Yeah, it's still holding on to it because we haven't had the time to process it. So it's very interesting to hear that.
Yeah. So I like the older I got, the more and more I started realizing why I doing certain things. Why I was so jumpy. Sometimes people would joke and say, "Girl, who beat you?" I didn't know one ever lay hand on me, but I'm just like that jumpy because I started to realize, because during the war, like they were always like, gunshots and always running. So when someone do a bang, like a loud noise, I jump, I'm ready to run. So I just too many things that I started to realize, like uncover, and I realized how that wow, this is where it coming from, and not being alone was one of them too. Because once I sit alone, I started to process those thoughts, and they were spooky. So I didn't want to process it,
Right.
and I realized that in order to actually go through that trauma and heal from it, you had to process those stuff.
Yeah.
Which
You gotta face it. You gotta face it head on.
Yeah.
Sit down and really dig deep. So what I would say for me, right? I didn't realize until later on, way later on in life.
Right.
When I say way later on, I'm talking 2 years ago. And I'm in my 30s now, so I was in my late 20s when I finally realized it. So when I was younger, I was touched by a family member.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't tell anyone because essentially he was like he told me to not to say anything to anyone.
As a child, don't say it.
And I didn't understand the feeling. I didn't understand what was going on, whether it was right or wrong. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't understand why my family member would do that. To me.
Yeah.
So, but later on, that happened to me between the age of, I would say, 3 to 5.
So young.
Yeah, so yeah. Later on, I realized I became very quiet. Like I took that introverted role, and I just like I became quiet because my family were silencing me, and I didn't think that anyone would believe me if I said anything, so I just kind of kept that in. But later on, just being around different groups, around different people, like certain people I just couldn't be around. I don't know if it was their energy or if it was like me just being quiet in general, but
probably trigger. They said
yeah,
thing in them probably reminded you of whoever that
exactly
person
who did
was
it to
that did
me.
it to you. So
Yeah,
it could be like
like their
that.
energy was just off, and then like even being in a big group of people, I couldn't do it. Like I felt like it was just too much. Like it was just too much going on. Like I just went in, you know.
Yeah.
And then also like just dealing with men in different relationships.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
And certain way that would touch me, I didn't like it.
It
You know,
reminded you
and because it reminded me of it.
that is crazy.
And trauma for other people may be like a dog bites.
Yeah.
But we need to take the time, which is what I learned along the way. I need to take the time to really understand who I am. And when I started going through my thoughts and, processing everything, I realized like, wow, there are so many of us just walking around feeling the same way I felt at that age. Just silence. They don't want to speak up because they feel like nobody will hear them out, nobody will believe them, it's too far fetched.
Right.
And it just sucks. I feel like as human beings, we need to be able to help each other, like have someone to be able to talk to. Because at the time, I didn't feel like I had anyone to talk to. Right. And so I walked around with this
so
big.
young.
Yeah.
How can
It was,
you mean
yeah.
as if you're a little bit older, you got your friends that you probably had that one person that you feel that you can confide in, like, you know what I mean? But at that age,
Yeah.
you don't have like that.
No.
If you don't want to go to your dad or your mom or any adults, at least you have your friend to
That
talk
one
to.
friend,
Yeah, but at that age you don't have that, so it's so difficult at that age. And then
Yeah. But that's the thing though. That was not the only incident. Um, the way I grew up, I just felt like that kind of stuff after it happened to me initially, I felt like it was normal because there was situations that kept happening.
Crazy.
Like even back home in Liberia, I had one of my teachers. He was my kindergarten, I think, yeah, kindergarten teacher. He also, for camp, like he will have me.
That's at what age, Amanda?
Yeah, it was when I was in kindergarten. It was around, like 5. It was around 5 to 6 age. So like my cousin was doing it, and then my kindergarten.
I'm so sorry.
So
like I said, we all had different kind of trauma, and sometimes you don't even realize like. But that's crazy because as a young kid, you have that implanted in you that this is normal. So now when you have men come in your life, they treat you certain way, you just think that that's normal.
Yeah.
Wow.
You think it's normal, and again, you don't want to speak up because you thinking that it's so far fetched. But later on in life, it was actually this year. I finally opened up to my dad.
Yeah.
And I told him what happened after having after opening up to my dad, I explained to him what happened, and like he was like, and he listened for sure. He was very. I think he didn't expect me to even say something like that.
Right.
And we was talking, and he was like, "Why didn't you tell someone?" And I looked at him and I asked him, "Would you have believed me?"
Right.
And he said, "Yes, I would have believed you because a child will not just come up with something like that. It's so, like they would have to have
far out there.
Yeah, they would have to have some type of something for them to even say that.
Right.
But no, I would just say this. My father and we didn't have the best relationship growing up. I never really felt like I could go and really talk to him about anything. I wouldn't say he's your typical African parent, but he's your typical African parent who grew up in the 60s, and they just was very like not very not affectionate and not very we didn't really talk about our feelings.
Right. Well,
So
that is normal in
yeah.
Africa, though. Like sometimes, if you as a child, you're not even allowed to give your
Right.
opinion,
Mm-hmm.
but that's you being
You can't even speak
disrespectful.
when an adult is
Yeah.
speaking. You know, in an adult conversation, you don't jump in. It's like a lot of things, a lot of rules, unspoken rules also, where you should just be able to feel the energy of your parents.
Right.
So, but yeah, that happened to, and I'm so glad I'm at a point in my life where I recognize it and I realize that I did nothing wrong.
Right.
And I now know the signs of it because I have children myself and I have, a daughter.
Yeah.
So now I recognize the sign and I understand, like, we have that open relationship and we speak about it, like we talk about it anytime she go over their friends. Like, I'm very I'm very aware.
Did that kind of make you a little bit skeptical about people, especially now that I just mentioned your daughter? Do you have that like fear that when she out there or she around people, like you're scared that, oh, you know what I mean? Do you have that fear that like in you based on your experience and stuff like that?
I would say now I don't have that fear because I've taught her well in a conversation. She knows anything, she'll come to me.
That's good. Yeah.
And but I would say before I recognized the issue that I even had the trauma of that happening to me, I did have that fear.
Yeah, I noticed people do that. You know, so these are the things that trauma does to people, and we don't even realize where this is coming from. You probably had those fears, and they didn't realize why you're afraid that this will happen.
Yeah.
And then also, did you become like reactive in in relationship with when kind of relationship with men and stuff like that? Like little thing will make you react, or
I would definitely say in relationship I took more than I needed to take.
yeah.
I didn't walk away right away. I kind of, like when I was a child, I kind of just stayed in it. You know,
Quiet kind of thing.
quiet.
Yeah.
And I allow it. I felt.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely along the way, I've definitely taken a lot in relationship, a lot of wrong, that men would do. Like, I've definitely try to overlook a lot.
Yeah.
So,
So I guess it affects people different way because another person who that situation may happen to, they probably will be way more reactive and just a little thing will make them run. But you, it kind of affected you in a different way. Now you feel like more like a self-esteem or self-worth kind of thing, right? You feel like this person had to treat me better, or if I stick around, if I can get this love, if I get this love from this person, it's okay. We're being real. Like, we're being real. Like, but so you probably took that because you wanted that love from that person or whoever the relationship you had with the person, because based on your experience in the past, you didn't have that kind of love based on your, so it's crazy how that people can have different experience with the same situation.
Yeah, no, like, men will do me. They will do me wrong, like cheat, and and I would just listen and take it all in. But I'm so glad I'm at a point where I recognize it and I know better. Yeah,
It's growth.
it
It's
comes
growth.
with age.
Yeah, it's growth. So that's one of the things with like with growth, and they always say like for me with trauma, right, and trying to process things, how do you handle certain situation when it happen, and sometimes you feel that the war is over or your war is ending, and we are human, we are just so limited in our ability. So sometimes people when they go through certain traumatic situation, they become already religious or they become religious because you
They
kind
either
of
go hypersexual. Like, it's in my case, how it was a sexual abuse type thing.
Yeah.
They either go hypersexual and become, you know, prostitutes or escorts, or maybe just like going from man to man and not understanding what it is looking for.
You see, this is why I remember I think you and I had a private conversation before, and I was like, one thing about the storm, it's always ends, right? But the thing is, you are never the same once it's storm, it's over.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we as humans, we have the ability to choose who we want to be after the storm. So that that come with that you either become a better person or a very bitter person, and they try to retaliate or try to like revenge. So for those people that do that, like I will revenge. I'm just gonna like hurt
Right.
other people
Hurt
like I was
because I'm
hurt.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's good that you brought that
Yeah.
up because yeah, when you go through a traumatic situation, you then have a choice. Are you gonna come out bitter
Right.
or are you gonna be better?
Better.
You
Yeah.
know, and I choose now at this point in my life.
Yeah.
That was not the only traumatic situation, just to say. But I choose to be better. I choose to not let that person who did that to me or those people who did that to me win. Like you can't take that away. You can't,
Right.
you know, like I have
Right.
to come back to myself and remember who I am and my
Right.
power and the power that I have.
Right.
I cannot allow this person or even carry that load and that weight on my back.
Right.
It's too heavy for me. I don't want
Right.
to do it, you know?
It's funny that you said that.
Yeah.
But people always tell me like, oh, at first when probably in my teen year, my early 20s and stuff like that, when things will happen to me, and I'm very easy, like I will forgive people easily. So I used to tell myself I don't like how God made me because I'm over the situation so easily, and I don't want to be over it. I just want to hit the person. I want to do this, but I just can't because I'm just over it. And then the older I got, and I actually love how God made me because it's so heavy to carry that with you.
Oh.
Like that hate, that
And some
hate will
people are
eat
just
you.
angry, just walking
Yeah.
around mad.
Like,
And it's like, why is this person so mad?
Right.
But it's because they're carrying around so much in them.
Yeah.
It's like releasing. When God said, bear your burden on me, he really meant it.
it.
It's not for you to carry. It doesn't even belong in our bodies. Like
Yeah.
it does nothing for us. We have to release some of that. Find someone to talk to, or even write something. Write it down. Write
Yeah.
it in a journal. Go
Girl,
in
you said
yourself. Like
that.
meditate.
That used to be me.
Work out. You know.
That used to
Yeah.
be me when I didn't have when I first moved here and I went
Yeah.
through the culture shock, and then we just talked about now that I just discovered that was a traumatic situation
Yeah.
because being African and living in the civil war,
Mm.
it became a lifestyle that it became what I
Yeah.
knew. So to me that was normal. So I never thought that was like a trauma or traumatic.
Yeah.
Even when we moved here, I was adopted by, my aunt and her husband. When we came here, they had asked her, me and my siblings, there were three of us that were adopted. So they asked her, do you guys want therapy? We said no. We never thought we needed one because we never thought we went through anything that is abnormal because that's what we grew up in. We grew up in the war.
But that's it. Me as being an African, we don't believe in therapy.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, now we've definitely progressed and we know we're thinking higher.
Right.
But growing up,
Right.
we didn't believe
What
in
is that?
therapy.
Yeah.
Why would we go to somebody to, do all that? We kept it within. You know?
I find that most people, it works for most people when going through a traumatic situation. Obviously, in your community, and some people don't have that,
Yeah.
and some people don't have someone that they can talk to. So having a therapy will work in that case, obviously, because therapy is like someone that you can be able to talk to about your feelings.
Right.
And then when I moved here, like in my high school, like the culture shock and everything, I realized why I was so anxious because I had so much in me that I never processed and I never cried. And I remember I never cry. I'm one of those people that it take me so long to cry, and I always joke with people. I say, "Don't get me crying because if I start, I won't stop." And this is why, because I had so much that have been let out. So then little thing is like a domino effect. So it's like when I start to cry about something, and I cry about everything else that I didn't cry about. So it's like a bad cry. It's not a little cry. So I really do try not to cry about things, but something that I used to do, honestly, was to write it down. I used to write it down. It used to be like a thing for me where once I write it down and I flip the page, that was
Wow.
that was my thing. And when I came here, when I moved here,
That's a really good way to
and
go about
I
it.
didn't know how I used to like. The more and more now I learned about myself and I learned about self care and learn and read and listen to other teachers and stuff like that, spiritual teachers and stuff like that. Wow, so I was doing this. Why are you knowing what I was doing? I was like helping myself, healing myself, and I didn't even know that I was doing it. Like I learned that I would write it down, and my mentality was once I read it down, I flipped the page. That was on the live page, and now this is a new page.
Yeah.
So I just like I left it there. So that I stopped doing it. I stopped doing it because I found distraction. Because after high school, obviously I went to college, and that was distraction. That was great. So I didn't need. I had nothing that was stressing me or that was like burden out taking with me. So, but eventually I knew I still have to process those thoughts because they kept popping back up, and I was so anxious. Like you and I talk about anxious about everything. I just someone I was just if I woke up late, that would just ruin my whole day.
Wow.
Because now
Yeah.
it's like because it's not
Take it easy on yourself.
but the thing is
Yeah.
realizing that it's not just because I was late, it's because other stuff also is a
You
so
just have
many.
so much build up in you, so
Yes,
anything can just trigger you.
that's why one I didn't really realize it, and
Yeah.
I started to learn like wow, and I found just spiritual journey
Yeah.
really helped me.
Yeah.
I know there's something higher than me, and I reached out to that. Just having that faith and having that hope,
Yeah.
and just like you said, he said, cast on your burden unto me. And just knowing that all things work out for the good of those that,
Oh,
love
girl.
him. And, so I'm just like,
Girl.
you know what, whatever the
Preach.
situation is, it's going to work out. Like, even though it may not be God that create that bad situation for me, but he going to make that situation work in my favor. He can make my freaking, my sorrow into testimony. Like, he can turn it around for me. So those little things just kind of
Right.
keep me going. So I don't know how a lot of you guys deal with your situation, but for me, I found that very helpful. Like for me, I used to write it down, and then after that, I don't even write. I don't write.
Like you already have that discernment.
I did. I didn't
God
know.
have you in His hand.
He always does.
He always brings, and that's so good because for me now at this age, I realize like I've always been a runner and I've always been a walker, and I always had to be outside. So the way I've dealt with mine, even at a young age, I had to be outside. I always went for a run or for a walk. Just fresh air in general, like always lifted me. Or I would lay out in the sun.
Yeah.
Like I'm always cold. So like, but for me, I love being in the sun.
Yeah.
And I realized that because at a young age, I used to walk from my grandma's house to my grandma and my mom. They lived together, and I used to walk all the way to my dad's house.
Right.
It was about a 30 minutes walk. And I remember when I was walking, I kind of did like a walking meditation. I
You
was
always did that?
thinking, yeah.
Wow. No wonder why you do meditate now.
I do,
thought
and it came
like
to me so natural.
wow.
I On the way I was processing the thoughts. Like I was going through everything. Whether it was a situation with, my parents fighting over me, or even just like the sexual abuse that I explained to you earlier. But I was just always thinking along the way, and I would just walk. And even later on in life, from high school, I would purposely miss the bus just to walk to school.
Wow, that's
Just
crazy.
and now in my adult life, working out, fitness, that's how I deal with my trauma.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, to me, if I can beat a physical pain, emotional pain is nothing.
Wow.
And so like even now, like I work out or I'm outside when it's a nice weather. I'm not out there. I'm not out there when it's cold. Walk outside, or even like anything physical, anything like that involves being in the sun, or just like me sitting by myself.
Yeah,
That's how I deal with
girl,
it.
I tried so many things.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I moved to college. Obviously, I live in a like we mentioned the 14 year civil war, so the education system, guys, is different. So moving here based on my age, I was like thrown into high school. So I missed so many. I missed so many grades.
Me too. I skipped
Yeah.
grade.
I missed so many grades, and then I was playing catch up the whole time. So it was not that was also traumatic for me too. So it was like difficult. Like I would like literally sit there and cry on my homework, and then going to college was another thing. So it was the stress level was there, and the freshman year was difficult. And I remember the gym also helped me. For me, it's not I was not thinking about it as a physical thing. It's like kind of almost like a stress release for me when I go to the gym and work out. So that used to be my thing. And then at nighttime, I would sleep with music in my ear. So music used to be my thing. I would listen to music. Like I would just, I have my iPad, my ear pad actually. I'll put it in, and I would just sleep with the music on. That would calm me. So I used to do all kinds of stuff. I try everything, but now at my adult age, I actually found like just finding God is actually helpful. It's so much helpful for me. That's my source. I just run to it. So I'm like, I'm the resource. You are the source. Like the source cannot survive without the resource cannot survive without the source. So I cannot like I'm so limited. Like I can't do this by myself. I need you.
And we shouldn't have to really
yeah.
we really, whether it's a religion, or
something, yeah.
or but some, we should not have to carry all of that
Right.
for us. Like, we need to be able to
Very
lean
good.
on each other, and that's another reason why I would love doing this show with you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like just sharing our thoughts and our just opinions, our stories,
Yeah. Our
maybe it'll
experience.
allow someone else to recognize, like, oh wow, I have that in similar, to your story.
Right.
And this may also be the reason why I am the way I am, just, we need to learn to give not only each other grace,
Right.
we need to learn to give ourselves grace.
Right. Yeah.
Because trauma, it can really do a doozer for you if you don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
Give each other grace. Know why. Understand that the reason why someone is acting the way acting, it may not even be personal.
Right.
It may really
That's what I
just
do
be
nowadays.
me. Now, I don't let nothing stick on
Like,
me.
I'm sorry, I don't even want to say. I don't even want to say. Okay, but I would say I had a buzz. I had a buzz of mine.
Yeah.
Like just a me person.
Yeah.
So like I don't take it personally. I remember myself this one night just sitting there like, wow. It must be a really tough life for her. If you had to live like that,
Hurt people, hurt people.
if you have to live like
Yeah.
that, walk around that bitter, like it gotta be tough. There's
You
no
cannot.
way.
You cannot put out what is not already in you.
Right.
So if you are spewing anger and spewing just hate and
Yeah.
spewing that is what is within you.
But then the
Like,
thing is, it's a
man,
choice. You can live with that or you cannot because we've all
right.
been
But
through
not
so many stuff.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
again, when it's unprocessed,
Yeah.
and you can either be better or bitter.
Right.
So it's like those people choose to be bitter because they have so much that
Mhm.
they're dealing with.
Right.
And so, yeah, now I don't like anything stick on me. I'm like, yeah, I'm so big on energy.
Yeah. Oh, that's my thing. I
I'm
love energy.
so
Yeah.
big on energy. Like,
I protect my peace.
yes, I look at myself. I put a bubble around me. I say, "You're not gonna elevate me.
Yeah.
You're not elevating my spirit. You're not moving me. I'm going to protect my peace because." Lord knows I don't want to be walking out here like you. We don't need more
Yeah.
of you walking
That's
around
true.
and
Right.
polluting the earth. Like we need to for real come together and give each other grace and be better.
Right. We're
You
all
know?
brothers and sisters in Christ.
We are all
each other.
one. We are all
But
one. If we come from God, we are all one.
Right.
He created all of us. He created us in His image. And like,
Right.
some people just forgot who they are.
Yeah.
And it just, again, trauma can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But that's really crazy.
yeah.
Like, I try not to have. Actually, if someone does something to me, I think that's why I'm so easily forgiving. Like people will tell me
Right.
that, is that I don't want them to have power over me. But the thing is, if I decide to like react or just add according or certain way just because you treated me certain way. Now you have power over me because guess what? You are out there living your life and now here I am. I had changed my whole dynamic of my I had changed everything about my life because of you. You're not here, but I'm still like you still have
Right.
effect on me. I'm like, why would I want that? Like I
That
don't
person
want
may
that.
not even be thinking about you.
Exactly. And like, why do I even want that for myself, for my life? Like you cannot have that power. And I find that just taking your power back and just not even if you are affected where him and will get affected by it, but I just not gonna show you that I am affected. I'm gonna try to remind myself, like, this situation happened, so what? So like what make me entitled for the person to treat me this way? We are all selfish in our own way. I'm only mad because I didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's very, very difficult, guys. Like when you are in a situation, especially depending on whatever the situation, it could be something that someone did to you and something that you are hurt about or something that you can't even control. It just happened to you and you feeling like down or just feel that you can't even move forward. You just gotta look for again community. You have to have community. You have to have someone that you can speak to, that you can trust, to talk to you, that can give you a little bit of a push. Because sometimes that's all we need. We just need someone to just give us that little push to get us going. And you gotta look for things that work for you. And like I said, I had done few other stuff in the past for me that worked for me. And right now in my life, what worked for me is my religion. I try to like look for an example, like who in the Bible going through the same situation I went through, I'm going through right now. Who in the Bible went through that situation, and how did they navigate that situation, and how did God came through for them? And I try to like remind myself that I'm not the only one that this happened though.
Yeah.
These things happen. You know, sometimes you can't help it, but how you react or how you act, like
You're always in control of
you are in
yourself.
control of that.
You're
So
always.
it's not easy, obviously, but you just it's a work in
So
progress.
I
I hope like our little our story, not little.
Yes.
I hope our stories will help someone out there, like help some of you just cope with yours little, better.
Yeah.
And if anything, any questions and you have any topics again, like we always say, you can just let us know and we'll talk
Right.
about it.
And for sure, like keep healing, keep growing, and just extend that kindness. Heal your trauma.